Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you, welcome back to the channel and welcome today to southern Spain, where I am surrounded by some awesome roads on which to go for a test drive. Now before we get started, I'd like to say a quick thanks and shout out to the squad. You guys know who you are, I appreciate your support big time. But today, I'm here in Spain with Audi Sport on the launch and first drive with the new RS4 Avant. Now this is a car that is particularly of interest to me because, as you may know, I recently set up and spent substantially more of my time in Germany, where I've left my regular daily cars in the UK. I'm shipping the supercars backwards and forward, but I need a daily car to drive around in Germany, something that is practical with good luggage space, something that can be driven in all seasons, but something that packs a punch, is powerful and fun to drive. And I think this ticks quite a few of those boxes, so I'm very intrigued today to find out what the new RS4, the latest generation, is like in Avant form. We've driven the RS5 Coupe before, but this should be similar with a few differences. We'll take a look around it, go for a first drive, and then I'll report back some thoughts at the end. So stick around to the end to see whether this could be the right car. But let's get started taking a look around. It's unusual for me to start a video at sunset, but as you can see, all of the cars are driving around. The sun itself has just disappeared behind the hilltops over there, but we had a nightmare journey today, starting out from London, where, believe it or not, it was snowing, causing huge delays, as you can imagine, at the airport, and delays to get the flight taken off. However, we're here now. It might be a little bit chilly, but it's clear, dry, and most importantly, the new RS4 Avant is waiting to be taken on a test drive. So let's start off talking about the basics a little bit and what's so cool about these Audi Sport products. Audi Sport being the rebranding of Quattro, the RS models being the sportiest, top of the line. You know, this is based on an Audi A4 estate. It's a bit of a sleeper. It has that capability that those that know. You could take the badge off the back of it and they would still know this is an Audi RS4 Avant. It is capable, it is powerful, but it still has the practicalities, the luxuries, the technology, the convenience, and we'll run over more of that as well. So let's start just walking around the 5th generation of Audi RS Avant models, starting with the RS2 Avant and now the 4th generation of the RS4. So you're probably very familiar with the previous gen, with the RS6 Avant, the big brother, but this is the latest in the lineup. So a lot shared with the RS5 Coupe that I drove not too long ago, but signature features that instantly make the car stand out. For example, the oval exhaust pipes, always on the latest round of models from Audi Sport. The wider arches. This car is actually wider even than the RS5 Coupe, an extra 15mm in addition to the 15mm wider that car has. And up front, it's got the same 2.9 litre TFSI biturbo V6, 450 horsepower, 600 Newton meters. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And I think distinctly, it's just a little bit more aggressive around the front. The car is lower and wider than the previous generation. It has the large single frame grille at the front, again with the honeycomb inside, just giving it that aggression. The full LED matrix headlights, a new look to the bumper that has larger openings for cooling through the intakes, and larger wheels naturally. All sorts of initial familiar features. I think we'll start with the powertrain. So let's come round and just open up the engine. Naturally, as with all Quattro Audi Sport models, we have four-wheel drive, permanent all-wheel drive. There's a rear bias, so 60% rear, 40% front. But you can actually send up to 85% of the power to the front, 70% to the rear. So lots of grip where you need it, torque vectoring handled through that as well. So let's open up the engine bay, which you do that way. Heavy lid there, where you're greeted by the carbon finisher on the top. So 2.9 litre V6. Yes, it's not the 4.2 naturally aspirated V8 that was in the previous generation, but it has the same power, 450 horsepower, but torque is up to 600 Newton meters. That's 170 more than the previous car. Now 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour is 4.1 seconds compared to 3.9 in the RS5. Top speed is typically limited to 155 miles an hour, 250 kilometers an hour, but you can have the optional upgrade to 280 kilometers an hour, which is 174 miles per hour. So the engine's connected through an 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox, handling the Quattro all-wheel drive system. We'll shut this down for a moment, just take a slightly more detailed look around the design and styling side of things. So the car, like I mentioned, sits wider. You can notice immediately the distinctly wider arches, particularly at the rear. Those haunches on the rear three-quarter are really quite aggressive. It's 30mm wider than the standard car. Like I said, 15mm wider even than the RS5. It sits basically quite low, quite wide, a little bit longer than the standard car, but that gives it a little bit more aggression all around, which is exactly what a car like this I think should have, while still not standing out or shouting too much. So like I said, the large single frame front grille, wearing the 4 Audi rings at the front, Quattro badge at the bottom, just reminding us that it's 4-wheel drive. And this particular car, you will notice, is very heavy on the carbon fibre. It is a carbon edition version of the Audi RS4, so it costs about £10,000 more than the regular, but with that you get the RS Performance exhaust, you get all of the carbon exterior components and interior, and a number of other parts of the specification included as well. From a design point of view, like the RS5, it's influenced by the 90 Quattro IMSA GTO car, so things like the intakes that you have just around the outside of the headlights, the shape and design and structure to the bumpers. And one thing I quite like, the milled wheels on this car. So by using an aluminium milling process to take out this extra area of material, it saves 2 kilos per corner, so 8 kilos overall in the car. And in fact, this car is 1,715 kilos. It's 60 kilos heavier than the RS5, but it's 80 kilos lighter than the previous gen, 31 kilos of which alone comes out of just the engine by converting to the V6. So down here at the back, carbon fibre diffuser, carbon insert on the diffuser, specific to the RS models, the RS Performance exhaust system, which sounds very fruity as you're going to hear soon. The RS4 in general has the boot lid spoiler. It's running with the roof rails here. This car's very highly equipped and optioned, as you can imagine. It has those same styling cues here around the rear lights that you have at the front as well. And generally, it's got a lot of practicalities. You know, if you open up the boot, I've got my luggage in here. We've come straight literally from the airport, but you can see that you could fit plenty of stuff back there. No shortage at all. You've got 40, 20, 40 folding rear seats. The powerful tailgate is always a nice touch. In convenience terms, you can open it as you walk up to the car as well. And if we open the back doors, just quickly to start by there, decent space before you get to the front, where you have all of the technology, comforts, features and capabilities that we're familiar, including the 12.3-inch virtual cockpit dashboard, a flat bottom steering wheel with Alcantara, lovely carbon fibre inlays, the red contrast stitch. If we come and have a look at the seat on this side, the diamond hexagonal quilting that you have through the seat itself. Generally just well equipped and a nice place to be. And I'll just quickly show you the key as well. That is the key for the car, letting you know RS, and you can actually put it just in there if you want, in the cup holder, to be out of the way. So let us hit the button and turn it on, start the car up, and hear what it's like. Not bad, not bad. And I notice it is also only 6.5 degrees, which is why I felt like it was a little bit chilly outside. However, we're in the car. I'm going to show you more around the interior later on, so we can go over some of the details and features, like these lovely touch sensitive, I love those climate control buttons. They are incredible. So we'll explore all of this in more detail when we get back. For now, let's go try out the different drive select options and modes and see what this car is like to drive on this very nice road that is beside me. Don't get me wrong, any moment now I'm going to press Audi Drive Select and put the car into dynamic, but let's start off just in automatic to get an understanding or feel of the options and what control we have. And you have this familiar system, we've known it from all of the different models over recent years, where you can put the car into comfort, auto, dynamic or individual and personalize how you have things like the variable dampers, this dynamic steering feel, the exhaust noise, the throttle response. You have the ability to control that. In fact, I remember when I owned my S5 Cabriolet about 7 or 8 years ago now. That was quite new at the time and really quite exciting to be able to configure the car and set it up dynamically how you want it. The car comes with RS Sport suspension. You can have Audi's dynamic steering amongst other options, of course, on the driving front, alongside a whole host of technology features as well on top of that, safety systems. And when I drove the new A8 recently, it was truly breathtaking how much control and safety the whole car had around you. And Audis all come with Audi Connect now, so with the MMI Navigation Plus, it's a connected car with a SIM card installed, so for 3 years your access to data services is right there built into the car. Anyway, let us press Audi Drive Select and put it into dynamic, so we'll have everything in the sportiest way possible, and the gearbox goes into the sport mode. Oh, that's a very nice sunset in front of me. So the 8-speed Tiptronic gearbox, the previous generation had S-Tronic, 7-speed double clutch, but the Tiptronic allows more torque.
which obviously gives you more sensation and feel of pull in the car. So it's in the sportier mode here. You pull it down once more and it would go back into regular drive, effectively just one gear higher at all stages. It's different configuration. And this car had to be set up a little bit differently from the RS5 due to being slightly longer, due to being a little bit heavier. I'm going to put it in sport. And then, oh, you get some nice pops and crackles out of the back. It's clearly well insulated. There's not that much sound from the outdoors coming into the car. You can have the Bang & Olufsen sound system and then you'd hear next to nothing from the outside. If you're in sport and you start going manual on the paddles, okay, the V6 is not too bad in there. Up towards the red line, it gets moving. Quattro, you know, it's four-wheel drive. You have a lot of stability and security. It will pull you out of corners very, very quickly. And although, unlike some models that you can't send, or some four-wheel drive systems where you can send all the power to the rear, and here it's permanent, just to give you that consistent, I guess, reliability of control and grip, and the speed with which it gets out of corners and off the line. You know, with launch control in this car, 0 to 62 miles an hour, 4.1 seconds. That's very fast for a car that could have a dog or 2 weeks worth of holiday luggage for a family of 5 in the boot, and your ski gear and some other stuff just for fun. It has a lot of space in here. It's quite a lot smaller in feel than the RS6. It's more nimble, more pointy. The steering setup is actually different as well. The front end is different from the RS5 in the way it's configured and the way it feels. But you do feel like you can drive it very, very hard. It is surprising that the character is that go. I think what I, over a bump there, what I don't like about it is the noise. Overall, I think I miss the generation of the V8s. I said the same when I drove the RS5. They've made it a little bit characterful with the, I guess, flutters on gear shift, the noise of the burbles that you get afterwards, but it's not quite a pure V8 experience. So, what else can I say about the drive? Well, from the displays point of view, we're familiar with this setup that Audi have. You have the option with the RS display or go full screen with the navigation system. I'll go over more of this. You've got a number of features like G-sensor, lap timer, the power and torque charts, so nice displays that you can have up on the screen. The seats, the super sport seats have massaging functionality, so I could turn on a massager while I'm driving with my dog in the background a racetrack really fast, because that's what this car does, you know, it does everything. And I think that's where it comes in. You know, if you're going to cruise down an Autobahn at 280 kilometers an hour, this is a pretty good way to go about doing it. This is a car that has refinement to some extent. Yes, it's not an A8 or an RS6, but it has quite a lot of comfort. The materials are nice, the lighting and illumination. You can have the interior color lighting package that will let you have, you know, whatever color you want to set up for the interior lighting configuration. But then it does that and it just keeps going. Brakes are great, carbon ceramics optioned on here, no slip in the corner, up to the red line, and away you go like a freaking rocket. It's quick, it's very quick, and so it should be. Let's actually just come to a standstill for a moment. So just by way of an experiment, not even launch control, just let the car roll up a hill, foot down, and it builds the revs, and away you go, up to the red line. It gets moving phenomenally quickly, and it's a family estate wagon. It's just the most, I don't know, I prefer this small form factor. It might not be as cool as the RS6, but obviously it's a newer generation car. I just think for me, this is a nice combination of get up and go. And I said in a recent video I did driving the Audi SQ5 that one of the, I think, almost problems for me is that these cars have become very formulaic. It's a case of take the previous one, slightly refine, cross things from one model to another, but they all really become very similar, not just in terms of sharing the engines. I mean, it makes sense that the Coupe and the Avant would engine share of the same platform, but in terms of the design cues, they're all very, very close, very similar. And that's one of the disadvantages and drawbacks to me, that it doesn't feel that special. I mean, the carbon edition of this car is £71,500, soon to be £72,500 with a price increase that's coming. That's a lot of money before your extra options. This car's in Misano red pearlescent paint, which is really nice. Misano, I like it a lot. It's a colour that's been around on Audi models for a fair while now. But On a road like this, it's enjoyable. We know that on an Autobahn, a car like this just cruises the miles. All-wheel drive gives you amazing stability at speed. So if you're going to be driving, 250 kilometers an hour for an extended duration, there's a lot of reassurance that comes from that kind of system. Oh, this view is just incredible where I'm driving right now. What a road, and I haven't even come that far out of Malaga, where we've flown to. Just get some downshifts and experience the revs a little bit. I mean, even this car is too fast, really, for public roads, especially going downhill here. You put your foot down onto the red line straight away, and then you're at the speed limit, and that's the fun over. But it is surprising how a car like this can be so dynamic. It does remind you, though, driving a fast estate, which is just a cool thing. A fast wagon, as the Americans would say, is just cool from the ground up. It reminds you why they are simply better than an SUV. The dampers and suspension setups just work better in this format. For now, SUVs are getting better, but I think for me there's an extra factor that comes out of it being an estate style. I can dump my skis in the back and go to the Alps, a bit like I do with my FF in the UK, but that car's going to stay in the UK, which is why I'm interested in a car for these Autobahn miles that's less sensitive to mileage, that can still be used for everything, that we can go to the shops in, all sorts of different things basically. Well, let's continue down here. Whoa, he was completely on the wrong side of the road. Anyway, shows you always got to pay attention, not drive too crazy. I love these roads though. Thank you, Spain, for causing so much entertainment this afternoon. So I think I should find somewhere to pull over. Oh, it turns in nicely. I was just going to say I should wrap up, but for the weight, it does point in and turn and go surprisingly nimbly. There's a little bit of feeling of washiness towards the end of the turn when you want to straighten it out again. But I'm being unfair if I compare it to supercars, because the A to B pace of something like this is phenomenal. And the RS3 and the TTRS with the 5-pot engines are pretty much the fastest A to B cars I've ever experienced. I spent a decent amount of time with them in Dubai, getting to know those cars a little bit more. However, here, on this kind of road, with this kind of view, I've got the head-up display with my lap timer, not that I'm on a circuit at the moment, and just generally enjoying the drive. So let's say, as I was going to say, let's find somewhere to pull over. We'll just talk a little bit more about it. I'm sorry, like I said before, that it's starting to get dark in here, but let's turn on some lights and have a further look around the car. And I like that red glowing strip there above the seat memory controls. I want to show you a little bit more about the controls and options and features, usual lights. Steering wheel configuration we're very familiar with the controls on the left to go through your different, or whatever in this mode you have up on the left hand side. At the top you go through the different trip or music or that side of things. From there you swap out of the RS mode to the regular mode, where you have independent dials but a much larger view for your controls or whatever it is you choose to have up. And this is always such a good system. 12.3 inch display, does everything you need it to, and the fact that you can configure it and customize it even more makes it even better. On the right hand side, your telephone controls and the like, and a hotkey here that you can configure to take you where you'd like. And then this Alcantara steering wheel is really nice, flat bottomed, a familiar steering wheel but nice to hold, good size, nice grip and comfortable. Then here, let's talk about the climate control. I love how this is touch sensitive and preempts, so although it only actually clicks when you press it, I just think it's really nice. I'm a big fan of that. And generally these toggles and interfaces that you have across Audis I think are very smart. Button to turn off the display should you wish, traction, auto start, parking, reversing camera naturally, various park assist features, the drive select, which if you go in there you can configure the individual mode where you can change the engine gearbox setting, the suspension control, steering, sport diff. Yep, the car comes with sport diff as standard in the RS4, and the engine sound from the performance exhaust as well. This can duplicate a lot of the menu functionality through the controller here in the center, with some hotkeys for your main features behind the cup holders, which are also nicely illuminated. If you go back to the menu, you get a quick glimpse at what we've got in here and the different things you can see. Now that takes us into Audi Drive Select, vehicle assistance, driver assist settings, speed warnings, the head-up display. I'm not sure if you can see that just, or not at all. Maybe it disappears a little bit too much behind the headlights, so let's turn those off. There we go, you can see the head-up display with the lap timer and other bits of information. There's basically everything in here that you imagine the car should have, and it's loaded with safety things like pre-safe, traffic jam assistance, stop and go, adaptive cruise control. We'll toggle down there for that. The carbon trim that surrounds the climate control bezel is very nice, continues through the door. The leathers are nice, Napa leathers. Basically, Audi have always done the fit and finish on the inside in a very good way, and if you're going to spend a long time in the car, I think this is a pretty nice car to be in. The gear selector with the plus and minus the wrong way round. They always do the plus and minus the wrong way round. I comment on it a lot if you've seen my previous videos. Then you have the phone charging pad in the armrest, USB, and the port, aux port back there. And then down here, if I can just show you the seat controls, maybe it's a bit dark for that, but you have your control for the massaging seat and lumbar, and then your seat movement here. There's the on switch for, I think, the massager. So let's jump out. I'm going to keep the engine running just for a moment. You now have Audi Sport puddle lights, no longer the 4 rings on the RS model. That's quite nice, as are the illuminated RS4 door sills. But in the dim light now, I think the sun's just disappeared. Malaga is down that way, so I've got a bit more enjoyable road here to discover on the way down. But I think this is quite an interesting car. We'll go back right now to the topic of the video, the big question, the should I get one of these as my German daily driver. It's a car that munches the Autobahn miles. It's a car that has all the practicality to go to shops and be used, and it's easy to drive and park. It doesn't feel very big on the road. It's got that sleeper style that the Audi RS models always do so well, that it doesn't look screamy and shouty, but it has more than enough go. There are things that I don't necessarily like, which is that it is, I think, quite generic. It, doesn't look like necessarily anything that special. It shares almost too much with mainstream everyday models that really don't stand out as cars themselves, and perhaps there could be more character from the exhaust. Even with the performance option of the exhaust, it still could be a little bit more, I think. However, for the price, for what you get, it's certainly a very interesting combination and package. So I'd be interested to hear from you guys as we head into the new year and it will start to be time to select something that could fill this space. It'd be very interesting to know. I've also considered RS3 sedan. I enjoyed that an awful lot, so that could be one of the options in this game as well. Anyway, thank you very much as always for watching, guys. If you're new here, make sure to click subscribe. Also click the bell to get notifications of all of my latest videos. I really appreciate your support. The squad, thank you ever so much. I think we're going to stick with that name from now on, but this is quite a car. I'm going to go and drive it a bit more now and think privately about whether this could be the one. Anyway, thanks again, guys. That's it for now. Thanks to Audi Sport for the opportunity to come out here to Spain to drive the car, even if the journey over didn't quite go to plan. That's it, though. I'll see you again next time. Cheers, guys. Cheers.